Hello everybody, let me put this on the slideshow. This is Adla. This is my presentation on my final paper. My topic explores whether the undocumented Latino population doesn't report crime due to the fear of being deported. Um, Before we start, let me show you important statistics that are relevant to this topic. Did you know that there are roughly 12 million unauthorized immigrants in the United States? Keep in mind, ascertaining the size of the illegal population is difficult because people who are here illegally don't always want to tell posters the legal status. As of 2018, 6.1 million US citizens under the age of 18 lived with an undocumented family member, 4.5 million lived with at least one undocumented parent. To introduce the topic, I want to say why is this topic important. If we think about it, when undocumented Latinos don't report crime, we all suffer. Imagine not everyone at your school or work not reporting being beaten, raped, or robbed. How safe would that make you feel? The purpose of this paper is to examine how undocumented Latinos, victims of crime, fail to seek police involvement due to their constant fear of their immigration status being revealed, as well as analyze past research and influential theories that can prove the distrust between that community and law enforcement. Key terms that will help us understand this topic better are deportation, referred to as removal of non-citizens from the United States who have violated our nation's immigration laws. These individuals are usually held in detention centers while awaiting trial or deportation. Any person that enters without permission or overstays their authorized time is considered an unlawful non-citizen. Police officers, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, are described as agencies and employees responsible of enforcing laws, maintaining public order, and managing public safety. Immigration officers, on the other hand, manage all aspects of the immigration enforcement process, including the identification and arrest, transportation, detention, case management, and removal of undocumented individuals. Based on this definition, is it the job of police officers to check for immigration status? An unlawful resident committed a crime by not having permission to be in the United States, and it's the police job to trap the criminals. Literature will be discussed below to prove this point. The first aspect to analyze was the willingness to report crime as a result of police assistance with immigration officials. That means, are individuals less likely to report a crime if they believe police officers work with immigration? Law enforcement agencies use jails, police stations, and courts to discover and deport undocumented individuals. Armenta and Rosales conducted interviews in Philadelphia and Los Angeles and concluded that both cities have progressive immigration policies but are implemented unevenly, making illegal immigrants feel unsafe. On another research, Menjivar and Bejarano also found that ICE will enter the names of more than 300,000 foreigners who, quote, disappear after being ordered deported into their database, so police can help them track down. Figure 1 states how research found a significant increase in court cases with absentee defendants. According to the statewide study, victims' dread of coming to court caused 45% of court proceedings to be halted in 2016 and 54% in 2017. This illustrates how the fear of coming into contact with law enforcement affects public safety and increases by the year. I want to show a quick video that demonstrates my point.
Last July, Maria, whose full name we are not using, went to a Charlotte, North Carolina courthouse to testify against her fiance. She says he did this to her 16-year-old son. But instead of finding justice, she and her son were handcuffed and arrested by immigration officers. Maria had gone to police herself to report the alleged assault, even though she knew she was in the country illegally on an expired visa. Her fiance used that against her.
Okay. Okay. My next key aspect of literature is the lack of legal understanding and cultural hurdles. A study was conducted to decide the number of knowledge Latinos have of law enforcement. The results state that there is a lack of knowledge of police and its role services. Rose on 2015, on the other hand, claimed that there are unique elements at play, like individual experiences that come from their native countries that develop the ignorance of the rules. On 2016, on another research, it was determined that the removal is described as civil penalty, which means undocumented individuals are not accorded to the constitutional protections afforded to criminal defendants under the Sixth Amendment. Linguistic barriers can also influence understanding, leading to confusion and misinterpretation of public services. A label is a term commonly used to classify an individual into a specific category of society, essentially created to form some type of order. Labels are important. It creates identity, empowerment of positive characteristics, yet they are harmful. It all depends on how individuals interact with them. Labeling theory can help determine what is believed to be deviant and criminal. For example, Baker's book Outsiders argued that deviance is not a quality of the act a person commits, but rather a consequence of the application by others. Deviant behavior is behavior that labels the people. Once individuals are labeled as deviant by powerful agents, for example, law enforcement in this case, they quickly become outsiders. And that label of undocumented weighs heavily on these individuals to the point where it's preferred to live with the label of criminals than risk deportation. On another research in 2014, it was argued that immigrants being labeled with the word illegal may cause more stigma since it highlights their illegal status and residence in the country, hence, again, labeling them and constantly reminding them of their criminal activity. The minority trait theory, also called racial trait theory, defines the racial ethnicity inequality in the criminal justice system, coming from the fear that the minority population will take over the majority group. It originated from sociologists Herbert and Blattlock, who view social organizations as a competitive between races, a constant fight between ethnic groups over necessary life resources. Due to this, many discrimination based practices occur. This leads undocumented Latinos to have less trust. It affects their opportunities, their well being, and their sense of belonging. Latinos are still perceived to be criminals and treated to others. This is all due to the constant fear of the majority to lose their power in their economics and politics. For my methodology, there are commonalities that the researchers use to examine their findings, mostly using data from surveys and interviews to find evidence-based information. The National Immigrant Women's Advocacy Project surveyed judges, police, prosecutors, and victim advocates and attorneys to help them better understand immigrants' victims' willingness to get help. They compared from 2016 to 2017 and analyzed the data quantitatively and qualitatively. In total, 779 professionals participated in the survey. Theodore and Havans used descriptive statistics in an ordinary least square regression model to analyze the data collected. The survey reached 501 Latinos in three major cities. It was done via telephone interviews using random digit dialing targeting high volume Latino communities. Theodore and Havens faced limitations, such as not including general attitudes toward the police. By not including them, the author is restricting their findings by not exploring all possible themes. Common limitations of conducting surveys are inflexibility and lack of potential depth. Respondents may not feel encouraged to provide honest answers. Surveys are time consuming and also need proper funding. The author suggests that future research should focus on also including general evaluation of police roles in immigration enforcement. Interviews. Armenta Rosales interviews are more mixed and express more ambience than the previous surveys discussed. They use a snowball sample, a sampling technique where participants refer to other potential subjects to the researchers, and they were able to interview 50 undocumented women and men living in Philadelphia from 2015 to 2018. In a journal, they conducted 61 interviews with Latinos from all over the country, and they use a purposive approach to gather participants and collected demographic information such as education, age, race, and how long they've been in the country. Some strengths and weaknesses of these methods are that although surveys could be conducted faster, as you can see in one interview was from 2015 to 2018, which is quite long, interviews have higher responses rates. Interviews allow open-ended questions, which give the respondents more freedom to express their emotions in as much detail as they like to. When it comes to individuals sharing private information or illegal activities, both interviews and surveys have their disadvantages. How does this limit our understanding of this issue? These methodologies and data sources limit our knowledge of this topic by not distributing the population correctly, and respondents with biases may select themselves into the sample, meaning findings from these surveys cannot be generalized and may therefore be misleading. Ethical concerns. This section discusses the possible ethical concerns social workers can face when working with law enforcement. The profession of social work was chosen as it serves a critical role within the criminal justice system. The profession of social work is in control of promoting social services at a risk population. In this case, the undocumented Latino. Social workers are needed in law enforcement agencies to ensure equal legal advocacy and prevention of victimization. There was two concerns that I divided into reporting to authorities versus confidentiality and cultural understanding. Are social workers who are required to disclose the legal status of their clients to law enforcement are violating codes of ethics? And how culture appropriate are these social workers? So for the code of ethics, I use one from the National Association of Social Work. Code 1.07, Privacy and Confidentiality, states that the social worker should respect the client's rights to privacy. Code 3.09 describes how social workers have a commitment to their employers. However, does this create an ethical dilemma? Do they put the needs of an individual client first or the needs of their agency, which overall serves the whole population? Code 4.02 Respect states that social workers should not participate in any form of discrimination, and Code 6.04 Social and Political Action states that social workers should engage in social and political action that seeks to ensure that all people have equal access to their resources. A social worker should seek proper interpretation tools for those who do not speak English and provide referrals to proper services needed. Lastly, as political aspects change daily, social workers need to be aware of them to inform their clients about them and possible rights that they may be unaware of. Conclusion. The study asserted and demonstrated the importance of this. However, it does not mention whether this is based on psychological or cultural principles. Many Latinos originate from places where calling the cops is not common, or they have experiences that have caused them to withdraw. For some, crossing the border is already a stressful experience that may result in post-traumatic stress. This study aims addresses those issues as well as contribute to a better quality of life to the general public. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for viewing my presentation.